Welcome everyone to our Monday night shiur. Our shiur is sponsored to the Atzlacha of all the Ravakim. Hashem should bless them. Tichle shana v'kililotea.
Amen.
May the year and its klalot finish. Tahel shana u'birchotea. May the year, the upcoming year and its brachot begin.
Amen.
May everybody who needs a zivug, may find a zivug. Most important. Hasharui below isha, sharui below simcha, says the Gemara Masechet Yevamot. Hasharui below isha, sharui below choma. Hasharui below isha, sharui below Torah. Torah that a person learns when he is single and when he is married is two different Torah. It's like learning Torah before Matan Torah and after Matan Torah. To that extent, that's the difference. The Gemara then says, who says that a person, let's say a person loves Torah so much, he has to learn. He must learn. There are people like that. Can't work, can't do anything, they just need to learn all the time. Should he get married? You know the Shulchan Aruch Paskins? If he's like Ben Azai, the son-in-law of Rabbi Akiva, if he's like Ben Azai, then yes, he could just learn Torah and he could leave he doesn't have to get married. The Torah itself becomes his wife and everything. The Tosafot say, no, you're not Ben Azai, so don't even begin. You're not there, right? This is the Tosafot says. This week's parasha, so like I said, may Yashua be the guy who sponsored specifically for all the Ravakim, his brother, and everyone Shalom ben Reuven, and everybody who's a Ravak and Revaka. Also, may they find their zivugim. Amen. Very important. May they be kol sason v'kol simcha, kol simcha, kol chatan v'kol kala. Okay. Now we could begin very, very. I don't want to say the word dark, but interesting parasha. Dozens and dozens of quote-unquote curses. Many curses. On the other hand, we have a lot of brachot in this parasha too. But funny thing is, why does the curses in this week's parasha, and we're going to go through some of them today, why are they so in length? Why are they so in length? The Torah goes into detail. Isha ta'ares, you will engage a woman. V'ish acher yishkavena, and another man will be with you. Bayit tivneh, you will build a house. Lo teshev bo, you won't stay in it. Kerem tita, you're going to plant a vineyard. V'lo techaleleno, you won't reap its benefits. Shorcha tavuach le'enecha, your ox is right in front of you. It's slaughtered, it's ready, it's on the grill. V'lo tochal mimeno, you won't eat from it. Chamorcha gazul milfanecha, they stole your ride. They stole your donkey. V'lo yashuv lach, and it won't come back to you. Tzoncha netunot lo evecha, your flock, your sheep are given to your enemy. Ve'en lecha moshiach, and nobody's there to help you. There's no salvation. Banecha ubnotecha netunim la'am acher, your sons and daughters are given to a different nation. Einecha ro'ot, your eyes are seeing. V'chalot alehem, kol hayom, you want them back. Ve'en le'el yadecha, you have no power. Where is Hashem?
Is this seeing the future or what?
This is these are nivuot, absolutely. These are prophecies. Pri admatcha v'kol yigiacha yochal am asher, everything you grow, someone else is gonna eat. All your parnasah goes to somewhere else. Hayita mishuga mimarei enecha, you're gonna see things happening. You're gonna go crazy. How is such a thing happening? Hayita mishuga mimarei enecha. Yakecha Hashem b'shchin ra, bad leprosy, bad boils. Ala birkaim, it goes into detail. On your lap. Ala shokaim, on the thighs. Lo tuchal le'erapeh, there's going to be no answer to the klalot, to what's going on. Your king and yourself will go to it, and I could go on. It's literally the biggest aliyah of the whole year. It's the biggest aliyah. It's aliyah shishi, by the way. Why is it aliyah shishi? Specifically because the rabbi has to go up to this aliyah. But interesting, I see two things in Hasidic places, not all, in some Hasidic places that I see the Beit Knesset, and in Sephardic places, the rabbi just reads the brachot, he stops, and then everything else Mashlim takes, the seventh aliyah thing, like this. I've seen this in my own eyes, not just in Sephardi places, also in Hasidic places. By the Litaim, it's not like that. The rabbi goes up by the third aliyah, not by the sixth aliyah. For them, that's special. The third aliyah, Shlishi. Rabbeinu Tam, which was one of the Rosh Baalei Tosafot, the grandson of Rashi, he used to go up aliyah Shlishi every single week, even when he was an avel. When he was a mourner, when you're a mourner, you shouldn't go up to an aliyah. Only when they call you up to an aliyah, say they didn't know a person is an avel, and they call you up to an aliyah,
mandatory.
Then you have to, because you can't show avilut on Shabbat. And Rabbeinu Tam, every week he would go up to aliyah shlishi. Even without them calling him up, he went up to the Torah when he was an avel, because everyone knows who goes up to the third aliyah, Rabbeinu Tam. So if he wouldn't have gone up, it would be him showing that he's an avel, he's a mourner. You can't show any mourning on Shabbat, only divarim shabbat sin'ah. Only private things. For example, at home, you cannot wash with hot water, and you cannot be with your spouse.
Even on Shabbat.
Even on Shabbat.
Washing.
Because it's stuff that are done privately in your house. To show avilut personally to yourself, you're out. But outside, you have to wear leather shoes. You have to dress new clothing. You gotta change your ripped clothing, right? But on Shabbat, there is no avilut bepar hesia only. Rabbeinu Tam will go up to the Torah. So my question is, I'm asking you guys a question today. What's going on over here? Hashem goes on for I'm telling you, I'm looking over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of klalot. 98 curses.
Did any curses already happened?
Huh?
Did any curses
Yeah,
already
They
happen?
happen every generation.
They're telling you.
If you would read, remember the book I told you guys about, Torah Nation by Victor Miller? Some people bought the book. They said it was a bit of a tough read. Some, not many, actually, all the ones that I actually got, it's tough 3 days, and not only you, many, couple. He has a very high English, Victor Miller, but he explains over there Jewish history at the end of the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash. Yosifun, our good friend Flavius. He was Jewish, by the way, a Kohen. And
Wow.
he writes that there were so many Jewish slaves. The Romans packed the slave market so much, nobody bought Jewish slaves anymore. They were dirt cheap. Look what it says in the Kalalot over here. Look what it says. They're gonna take you, he says over here, to nation to be sold. The enkone, and nobody's gonna buy you. These kind of curses, of course they happen. They happen many times over. The Holocaust that didn't happen, Barminan. How many people came out mishugaim from the Shoah, Barminan, lo aleinu? How many people came out mamash mishugaim, kofrim beikar completely, no God. Remember Eli Wiesel?
Yep.
Yeah, it's mandatory reading almost in every yeshiva. I don't understand why. It was a kofir. Okay, we can't blame him, but still, he was a kofir. He outwardly said, "I have no God." After what I saw, how can I believe in him? He said. So the Lubavitch Rebbe told him, after what you saw, how could you not believe in him? That's what he told him back. So Eli Wiesel writes inside in the book, when he was over there in the concentration camps, he says over there the audacity that the Nazis, they would take the Jews, they would march them to the gas chambers. They would sometimes take the kids in front of the parents. In front, just to experiment to see what kind of emotion would come out of when the parent sees his child going to instant, and what can they do? There was one story, there was the Mengele. You ever heard of Mengele, the death doctor, the Grim Reaper? There was a doctor that used to experiment a lot on Jews.
Twins.
So twins specifically, he used to like twins. He used to keep them alive to experiment, not just to keep them to experiment on them. One time he took a woman, he wanted to see if you would stretch a person's body, would they rip in half straight down the middle or not? It's a true story. So he took one woman and he tied her up. The woman, apparently it's easier to, and he tied her to two things, and he made the truck go to two sides in front of everyone standing on line. And he ripped her in half. In front of Eita Mishuga, and you tell me these curses didn't happen already? They happen in every generation. In Spanish Inquisition, they didn't happen. And the pogroms of Russia and Poland, that didn't happen. And all the anti-Semitism in the world, that didn't happen. But you living today in Gan Eden. I hope you know that. In terms of Jewish history, the scope, you're living in Gan Eden. Understand? Just to make you, put you in, the one thing that we're complaining about these days is in a shot. A shot that's meant to protect you, that you're convinced to believe is to kill you. That's your biggest complaint today. Back then, people would actually depopulate you. There was actually that. You understand? Not like today, they knocking on your window. Today I was speaking, and I was in the car with my wife. I was speaking, and some lady knocks on my window. Could you write me an exemption? I said, what do you want me to write? In the vaccine there is PIG. What kind of exemption do you want me to write? Do you want me to lie? So she says, oh, no, write me an exemption. I said, I thought I'd do you a favor. You write it.
And I'll sign.
And I'll sign it. She goes, what should I write? So you tell me. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to tell you? I don't know what to tell you. What do you want me to write? You understand? So you're living in these curses for sure happen. 98 curses. By the way, these curses are makbilot. They are connected, and they are relative speaking. They are connected to the curses in which parasha? Anybody here knows? Bechukotai. Good, very good. Over there, Hashem also gives curses. I think it's 38 over there. 40? 49, thank you. Huh?
49.
49, exactly. Thank you. Half of this. Which one is worse?
The first.
The one that Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave. In this one, it seems like Hakadosh Baruch Moshe is pounding it on top of us. He's giving it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Open up the Zohar. Zohar Kadosh. When Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was hiding in the cave, for 13 years he was there, right? So the Chachamim were getting to this part inside the Torah, and I didn't know the drash. I didn't know. So they sent a Yonah, a dove, to ask Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, what is the meanings of all this? How could these things happen? By the way, they were the ones experiencing it. This was the Dor Shmad. This was Hadrian's time. This was the worst time of Klal Yisrael. They used to do hapchi. Oh, you're conspiring against. Why did Hadrian hate the Jews so much? By the way, Hadrian, Hadrianus Caesar, he wanted to build the Beit HaMikdash.
Why?
He wanted to be a benevolent emperor. He wanted to give rights, give this, give that. He wanted to build a Beit HaMikdash. Who were the ones who stopped the building? The rabbis. But the real ones, Rabbi Yoshua ben Hananiah. Why? Always in the Jewish people, our greatest enemy are the enemy amongst us.
A mess.
The reform, the conservative, the liberal.
But why you want Russia like that build the place?
They told Hadrian, tell them to build a Beit HaMikdash, but tell them to change the measurements. Make it a bit bigger. Halacha is the measurements that God gave, you can't change it. Rabbi Yeshua said, Hu mechapes alilah. He's looking for an excuse
To not do
to knock out a project and to go against us. So Rabbi Yeshua said, we might as well say that we cannot build it. We don't have Nevi'im today. We'll abandon the project. And after that, who got up? And I don't know if I should call him a false Mashiach, but according to some he was, according to some he wasn't. His name was Bar Kochva or Bar Koziva. If you feel he was Mashiach, he was Bar Kochva, the son of the star. If you felt it was fake, he was Bar Koziva. He made a small city of Beitar, just to give you a small Rome. You know what Rome was back then? Europe. And some of Asia. The most of the free world couldn't fight against a city in Judea. A city. It's impossible. 3 years, I believe it was. 3 years they were sieging around Beitar. They couldn't defeat Bar Kochva. They couldn't defeat it. I'm not going to go through the whole story. After they did defeat Bar Kochva, you know what happened? Hadrian became the biggest Rasha. He's on top over there with JC, Hitler, and all the thing. He might be even above them all. Hadrianus Caesar was the biggest mass murderer of Jews. Keep Shabbat, death. Brit Milah, death. used to say, the Gemara says, used to say Shalom. Oh, you're speaking in Hebrew? That's when the language changed. Everybody started to speak in what? Aramaic. Aramaic. Look at the Talmud Yerushalmi. In what language is it written? Aramaic, with a Jerusalem dialect. It's in Aramaic. Why? You're living in Jerusalem. Write it in Hebrew. You understand? No. And like this, the Romans went against. So the klalot that they did happen. They did happen. But what's the difference between that Moshe Rabbeinu's klalot, Moshe's klalot, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu's klalot? So there is a rule in Nivuah, in prophecy. Whatever Hakadosh Baruch Hu says, it must happen. Hashem doesn't say something unless it's perfection already. So they say, oh, but Yonah Hanavi, Yonah, when God told Yonah, tell Nineveh, 40 yom, Nineveh nefechet. That's what those were Hashem's words. In 40 days, Nineveh is going to be destroyed. Yonah didn't want to go. Yonah, by the way, says the Ari in Shari Gilgulim, he was Mashiach ben Yosef. He was the boy that Eliyahu Hanavi came back to life, brought back to life.
Oh, that.
Remember when Eliyahu went to Tzorfat, not France? It was another place in Cyprus called Tzorfat. He went over there and he brought a kid back to life. That was Yonah Hanavi. And inside of him was the soul of Mashiach ben Yosef. He was Mashiach ben Yosef. And he went to, and you know the story, he was swallowed by a fish. Not by a whale. He was swallowed by a very big fish. Because a whale is a mammal. And when he was inside the water, in the belly of the fish, he saw the whole world because the fish has scales, it's see-through. The fish swam in the whole world. He saw everything. He saw all the treasures, the Gemara said. He saw the whole world, and he gave a tefillah. There's also a big sigula if you want your tefillah to be answered, to say the tefillah of Yonah. Mi beten Sheol, from the belly of the beast you answered me, Yonah says. And he saw the Beit HaMikdash Shalishi over there inside. How did he have Nivuah inside a fish? How did he have Nivuah? You can't have Nivuah outside of Israel. Who's the only Navi that had Nivuah outside of Eretz Yisrael?
Daniel.
Daniel was not a Navi.
Eliyahu.
Huh? Eliyahu?
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel. Yecheskel. You 2 for 2 today. Yecheskel Hanavi. He was the only one. What does he say? Va'ani betoch hagolah. I'm in the exile, and he sees the Maaseh Merkava. He sees the chariot of God, Kivyahu. But Yonah, how was he able to have prophecy? Here's a Jewish trivia of the night.
He's in the fish.
Kosher animal.
He's in the fish, okay, and where is the fish?
In the water.
Water is
What's
Torah.
the sea?
Torah.
What's the sea? It's Torah? What else it is?
Mikvah.
It's a mikvah. And a mikvah is what? Has a kedusha like the embassy of Shamayim. It's the mikvah is bina. So he was, and the fish scales is not chotzetz, because anything that lives in the water is like the water itself. Where is he? Right? You learned that in Kola. So when we were in Kola, we learned together. Let's say a woman she can't go. She's allergic to the water. And she's afraid. Allergic. So if you put fish scales on her, she could dip inside the water. Make a suit out of fish scales, she could dip inside the water. Why? The fish scales itself is not chotzetz, because it's something that comes from the water itself. So when Yonah was inside the sea, he was able to have nivuah over there, because the fish was not chotzetz, and he was like in a mikveh. But when he got spit out by Nineveh, by the way, has the same numerical value in small numbers as New York. Nineveh is New York. You understand? How does God call Nineveh the great city? The great city. You understand? In small numbers.
The city never
small
switched.
numbers. The city. No, that's a different city. The city that everything. That's not Nineveh. That's Sodom Amorah. So he's inside Nineveh and he tells them over there. Look at his words. In 40 days, Nineveh is getting chapeh. We say in Bukhari.
Upside
Now
down.
you could understand it in 2 ways. Either it gets chapeh, it gets ne'efechet to destruction, or ne'efechet to what?
Better.
To the better, right? So he didn't really lie, but he knew. What did they understand him as? Od 40 yom ne'efechet. Now let's just put this into perspective. You're a prophet. There's no Instagram, Twitter, New York Times, no Facebook, nothing. You're a prophet. You're from an enemy country, by the way. Ashur is an enemy country. Sancherib came from Ashur. You're a prophet. It means you're the chief rabbi. Yonah is one of the disseminators of the Torah. He comes to Nineveh and he says, what do the people do? Not only do they believe him, they do a mass teshuvah movement. From the words of one rabbi.
Goyim.
Do you understand? Goyim.
Crazy.
Enemy Goyim, not just regular Goyim. I mentioned Amalekim. Like this, to this extent. Goyim, they listen to Yonah. And when God's upset, and when God says, "Why are you angry?" Gemara says, "I knew they wouldn't believe me." He knew they would believe him. That's unbelievable. What was the Goy back then? What was the Goy? By the way, Cyrus, you know Cyrus, Koresh, who built the second Beit HaMikdash. I'm sorry, he started to build the second Beit HaMikdash. Let's not give him too much credit. No, he was a Goy. He was the Persian emperor. Why did he build the second Beit HaMikdash? Well, he suddenly had a dream. I have a dream that the temple will stand in Jerusalem. No, he read the prophecy of Isaiah. He had the prophecy of Isaiah. And what does Isaiah call him? Koresh Mishichi. Koresh, my chosen one. God calls Koresh my Mashiach, that you will start to build.
Oh, you saw his name.
Say, when he saw his name, he's like, wow, and I actually became king, and I'm here sitting, and I defeated Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, and all of his descendants. That means wow, this thing is for real. Of course, they knew the prophecy. Victor Miller says the Jewish people were like, till today, you saw we're the center. Open the news today, Fox News. I mean, don't open up any news, but IDF bombs this, today that, 5 things. Everything is so... there's a mass genocide in Armenia. Nobody's talking about it over there. They're killing
Now we switch to Kabul.
the Kabul. People are being blown up there by the second. Fox News correspondent, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, people are stranded away. How many? 8,000. Nobody's talking about it. Who cares? Not who cares, but the Jews?
Yeah.
The Jews? Headlines. They fired machine guns. They killed, I think one Jewish soldier is killed. He's on his deathbed or something over there. He's very bad condition. And he said, it's okay. They're firing machine guns. It says it. Why? The Jewish people, we're the life for. We're the pre. We're the fruit. Everybody takes from the fruit. But the question is, when Yonah said to Nineveh, you guys are going to get destroyed, what happened? They all did teshuvah, right? Did teshuvah? Just to give you a hint, if you want to be saved on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, I'm going to tell you 2 things today. So this is the first thing. You want a clean slate? Something that's going to give you the big atomic bomb?
Yonah.
What did they do? How did they get saved? What did they do? They gave back all stolen objects. Kesef. Money. I know a lot of kids, they're really good on the computer. They know how to hack accounts, this, that. I just tell them. I say, guys, you stole money, you gotta return it. You can't return it, you can't use it. It's not your money. HaKesef, it's called the Amudim. Amudim is the columns. It keeps a person... It gives him reassurance. It gives him insurance, right? The money. When you take away a person's money, what are you taking? The Rav Nachman of Breslov writes, a gazlan. I'll tell it to you guys anyways. We're an adult class over here. He's like no'ef be'eshet ish. Rav Nachman says, it's like he's taking somebody's wife away. To that extent, a gazlan does. You understand? So, I was sitting in Tom's River this past Shabbat. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a dayan and I'm not good in choshen mishpat questions. Somebody asks me a monetary question, they ask a dayan. It's not my cup of tea. Ask me kosher, not kosher, tefillah, nida even. That's actually one of the things that I got major smicha for. Tarta mishpacha, kiddushin, chuppah, even Even Ezer. But choshen, it's not my cup of tea. You understand? So, I was sitting on a table with a guy, a very big businessman, this past Shabbos on Tom's River. And this guy, what's that guy, Jason Bourne? What's his name? Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon.
He's his client. He's this guy's client. Jeff Bezos, he did some startups, apps for him, like stuff like that. This guy's
He's up there.
He's up there, yeah. So, but this guy's a lamdan. Like a lot of people, they reach up there and V'yishman yishorun v'yiv'at. You know, life is good. This guy, on the other hand, he's a lamdan. Half a day he learns Torah. Learns 2 dafs of Gemara a day, Masechet Megillah and Masechet Baba Batra Metzia. The Babas. He likes to learn the money, the monetary thing. And the rest of the time he works. He's a partner. He's already a whole operation going. So he sits on the table. We shechted a lamb with the mitzvah of Zorah L'chaim V'Akeva. We cleaned it, this and that. They were very excited. The first time they saw this mitzvah being done. You take the right front leg of the lamb and the cheekbone and the maw and you give it to the Kohen. It's a rare mitzvah. I will just read you real quick what the Ari says just about this in his Hagdamat Ashar mitzvot. He says over here, any person who runs after rare mitzvot, I just want to read you the Lashon. He says, any person who runs after rare mitzvot, and he says over here, you might have to take my word for it. Here it is. It says, Veda, and no, this is the words of the Rav Chaim Vital. That means word for it from the Ari. Ki biyot mechapes, when a person is in his heart, in his soul, he's running after and he's looking for, umekayem, and he keeps ha-mitzvot sheinam noagot tadir, the rare mitzvot. He likes to look for the rare ones. Kemo, and what example he gives? Zeroa lechayim va'akeva, to give the Kohen these 3 parts of the shechita. Gorem, he causes, what does he cause in Shamayim? That day, Gorem lahashrat ruach hakodesh el ha'adam. That day, that person could get a hashrat ruach hakodesh, lahasig yedi'ah, to get yedi'ah bechokhmah b'torah, ubiprat be'oto mitzvah shu mekayem, especially that mitzvah that he did. He could cause himself to reach higher levels of understanding in that mitzvah. That means you could cause yourself to have ruach hakodesh. Why? When you do a mitzvah that not a lot of people do, you're taking the sechar of all those people that are doing it. Right? For example, there's one mitzvah I really want to do. It's a rare mitzvah. Pidyon Petach Hamor is one of them. You guys all know that. But there's another mitzvah that I'm working on a lot. This mitzvah, I don't have to get a fence, and get a thing, go to Lakewood and get a thing. This mitzvah, all I need is money. A lot of it, about 40,000. The one that I want to get. I want to write my own Sefer Torah. I'm not a sofer. I mean, I did learn how to write, but I'm not going to write my own Sefer Torah. I can make a shaliach. But I want Sefer Torah that should be the best of the best. Now, a lot of people write a Sefer Torah. They make a mistake. They donate it to the shul. You have to let the shul borrow it, says the halacha.
Rent it.
Yeah, basically. You give it to the shul, but it's yours. You know what I'm saying? A king, for example, had to have 3 Sefer Torahs. His whatever he had inheritance, his own that he wrote, and one that he would wear like a tefillin on his right hand with a gold chain. He would wear a small like this, and then he would read also from his own Sefer Torah.
Hakev.
And Parshat Hakel, that's the 8th year. That's Motzei Shvi'it. Motzei Shvi'it, he would read from the Sefer Torah in front of everybody. The Gemara says, who could be a king in Klal Yisrael? Could a ger be a king? A ger.
No.
A ger cannot be a king. Why? Why not? He's Jewish. Convert.
Not lineage of David. Lineage of David, no?
Yerovam ben Nevat was not a lineage of David too, but Achia Shiloni anointed him. They just made he anointed Mashiach ben Yosef. He was Mamash Mashiach ben Yosef until he made the Agalim. Right? A ger cannot be a king because in Parashat Shoftim, which we read 2 weeks ago, it says in the Aliyah, it was your brother's Aliyah. It says over there that Mikerev achecha tasim alecha melech. From your own brothers, put on yourself a king. What does that mean? From your own brothers, he cannot be a ger. So the Gemara says, Masechet Sukkah, there was one king. He was not from our brothers. Herod's grandson, Hurdus, the big Rasha who killed Chachmei Israel. Yes, he renovated the Beit HaMikdash, kol hakavod lo, and he killed a lot of the Chachamim. And he had a grandson who was actually a good guy. Agrippas. You ever go to Yerushalayim, you have Agrippas Street? It's named after him. So he has some Olam Haba. Is there a Herod Street in Yerushalayim? Is there?
There's-
Is there a heritage?
There is Masada.
Masada. Oh, Masada. Yeah.
He
Let's
built
want to say Kaddish over there. What's Masada? Who knows what's going on over there? Mass suicide. I wouldn't go there. Not for a trip, at least. Who knows what kind of a koach there is left over there? Mass suicide. Mass suicide. I don't want to get into it, right? Maybe they were not in their
not
dot at
his
that
fault.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't take Flavius' word as face value. He was the one who left out of there alive, right?
Masada?
From Masada,
He was
yeah,
there?
he was there. So it says over there, and when you put on yourself a king, you can't be a ger. One time, Agrippas, which was a good guy, he was a good king, the last good king for the Jewish people, and the second Beit HaMikdash. He gets up over there. It was Hakel. And he starts to say the parasha. And he gets to Parashat Shoftim, where it says over there, you can't have a king from Gerim. And he's a Ger. His grandfather was a son of a Ger, right? And he starts to cry. And Jewish people start to tell him, don't worry, Agrippas, you're our brother, you're our brother. The Gemara says that's when Hashem signed the decree of the destruction.
When they agreed.
When they, what we say in Yiddish, kissed his, you understand? They did chanifa. They were mechanefot. But he was a good guy. He was good.
Still.
Not long after that, he was poisoned, I believe. I think he was poisoned. And he died. And then, the Avi Avot Atum'ah came in. And it was the end of Yerushalayim. You're not allowed to be machanif. Even though he was good. He was dati, by the way. He was shomer Torah and mitzvot. But you're not allowed to be machanif. You're not allowed to flatter somebody who doesn't deserve it. You're not allowed to. You have to be straight in Judaism. When Moses hit the rock, when God told him, listen, you saved my kids a couple of times. You took them out of Egypt. I sent you on a suicide mission to Pharaoh. You did it. Okay, I'll let you go. אין חניפה לפני כיסא כבודו. אין חניפה.
Hashem say you were ger too. I love gers.
We are a ger, but don't forget we're the sons of Abraham. Ger has two connotations. One means a convert, a proselyte. One means a stranger.
So that's
Like when you see when you person gets a visa or something, it says alien. It says over there, but it means he's an abam. He came from from space. No, alien means that he's a stranger. Right? It has two connotations. So to a ger. Hashem, yeah. By the way, if you see a ger, you get so much mitzvot when you give him a lot of love. You understand?
Right.
At the same time, he can't be a king. Why? From Kabbalistic point of view, he doesn't have an inclusive soul.
He gets a new neshama.
He gets a new neshama, but it's not an inclusive soul. A king automatically has a soul that has all the generation in him.
Even the
You understand?
Rasha.
Even though the biggest Rasha soul is on a higher level, says the Ari, than the biggest tzaddik's body. So yes, there's Rishaim, and there's also Erev Rav amongst us. I'm not saying that there isn't. Till today, till the end, till Gogo Mago, I don't know, whatever it's going to be. Who knows? But there's always going to be Erev Rav amongst us. But we have to understand that the Melech has to have a neshama. You have to understand, Moshe Rabbeinu had a generation that had the worst Rishaim almost. They're big tzaddikim too, but you understand, they saw Yetziat Mitzrayim for the love of God. These guys were multi-billionaires, each one of them. These guys were, but imagine being a multi-billionaire and all you eat every day is pancakes. It's gonna get to your head after a while, huh?
Can't spend
Pancakes. How much pancakes could you eat? You understand? If they knew Kavanot HaRashash, then they would taste some chicken over there, some steak, some filet mignon. Not everybody. Not everybody tasted, what is this? You have to work for it. You have to go to yeshiva every single day, right? So, let's go back to what we were saying before. By Yonah. When Yonah said, Od 40 yom ninve ne'efechet, they made teshuvah. They returned the stolen objects. And also I say this to people, a person borrowed on interest from a Jew. Or he lent on interest, that's worse. If you lent on interest, to make sure to take that money and give it back. Unless you did a heter iska, you should talk to a dayan. You understand? It's not a simple thing. A heter iska must be made. It must be made. If a person lends or takes on interest without a heter iska, It's one of the things that causes a person not to wake up in Tchiyat HaMetim. So therefore, a person must be very careful by monetary matters. Choshen Mishpat is a very, like the Ben Ish Chai used to say, Ben Ish Chai's brother-in-law's yortzeit is coming up in Wednesday night. Abdullah Somich. His name was Rav Ovadia Avraham Yosef. Rav Ovadia Yosef was named after him. Ben Ish Chai used to say, a person doesn't know Choshen Mishpat, be very careful you're opening up a business. You have to know what you're doing. I'm not an expert on this. I won't even begin to answer the kashas. Okay? So don't come to me. But when he said that, they made teshuvah, then Yonah left, right? And after that, he left. What happened to Nineveh? 2 thumbs up. They were good to go. But Hashem said, 40 yom Nineveh nefechet. If you guys read Shrei Asar, the 12 prophets, what comes right after Yonah? Which Navi? Nachum. What's Nachum's prophecy? At the end, Nineveh messed up. At the end, they went back to their old ways. And what's Nachum's prophecy? The destruction of Nineveh. That means they bought time, but Bepi Hashem, the words of Hashem must come true. So what about they say Gog Magog? On the one hand, we say the big tzaddikim said Gog Magog happened already, but if you look at the Nevi'im, I mean, nothing even, remember we learned together, not even remotely happening close to that. I mean, people are melting over there, things are bombing over there, earthquakes all over Yerushalayim, the words of Ezekiel and Zechariah. But yet some tzaddikim says, like Rav Danom Elimelech, the student of the Baal Shem Tov, Magid Mezrich, Noam Elimelech. Noam Elimelech famously said, I have it written down, the source and everything, that Gog Magog, he said, I took care of it. He said, I mean, I don't know how it's, I mean, that's from some pretty big shoulders. You have to say, yeah, I took care of it. How could he say it? He said it's supposed to happen. And what's the answer? Gog Magog could happen, doesn't mean it has to affect us. We could sit over here, learn Torah, everything is good, and they could bomb each other from today till tomorrow. Nothing to do with us. We could learn Torah, do mitzvot, we could be good. And I'll give you an example. Some places in the world, right, they're really suffering from the coronavirus. People are dying out there. And Baruch Hashem, you're sitting here in New York, Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ale'ayin, you're coming to Shiurim, you're learning Torah, we're doing rare mitzvot, we're finding more, everything is li'ayin hara, everything is very good. Life goes on. Who's keeping that life on? Those tzaddikim are coming on Shiurim and learning Torah. These are you guys. You guys are doing it. It's your zchuyot. On your neshama, there's hundreds of people that are living off of you. You don't know how many mitzotzot are connected to you. Every neshama, the bigger it is, has more mitzotzot connected in it. By the way, the Ari says those people that hate you, they're probably your short neshama. Like,
including your wife.
And your wife. I hope. Sometimes it's a
Friction.
combustion. You need to have a zivug combustion. You need esh, right? That's why isha, esh is esh over there, right? You need Hashem inside. But now I'm gonna get to the second. So kesef, Hashem's words must come true. It doesn't have to affect us. Now I'm gonna tell you the second thing what I want to tell you tonight. So God gives us all these really not pleasant things to hear, and then Hashem gives us the antidote. The vaccine. Don't worry, it's not from the CDC. All right, if you're into that.
Vaccine from Shemayim.
Yeah, vaccine from Shemayim. All right, chisun. It says over here, Hashem gives us all this. What's the reason why? תחת אשר לא עבדתם את השם אלוקיך בשמחה. You didn't serve God with happiness.
Cool.
I didn't finish the sentence.
Oh, me.
Umerov kol. When you had it all.
That's the right answer.
When Hashem gives you everything, what happens to a person when life is good?
I did it.
Ya Azil.
Yeah,
Business. Ya pastal. Ya ba 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 bam.
Yeah.
I did it.
I thought.
When you have everything in life, and by the way, we all have everything. Just want to let you guys
Amen.
know, you all have everything. Of course, may Hashem give you more.
Amen.
Don't forget Hashem. I was talking to a person that wants to open a business right now. True. Today, the guy wants to put in $500,000. It's a big investment, right? I said to him, he says, what's the secret of success? I said, I'm not a Baba Saldi, and I'm not Baba Batra or Baba Metzia. I'll tell you one thing. Tzedakah. When Hashem gives you, if you're a conduit, if you're the pipe that can give to other pipes, then you will be that pipe. But if you want to be just for yourself, Hashem will give just for you. You want to be the pipe, then you got to prove yourself. Now, to be the pipe, you have to prove yourself that you are the pipe. You can handle that. Marbe nechasim, marbe da'aga. The more nechasim you have, the more headache you have, the more you're worried. Right? I always say you don't want to have hirhurim ra'im. Open up a business all day. What are you gonna think of? Your business. You understand? You don't want hirhurim ra'im.
It's a good idea.
Good idea. But how about go universe? So, but Hashem says, serve him b'simcha. Sometimes I'm upset at myself. Why? If it gets really hot at night, we're Sephardim. We were in the Etz Hadat, so we got a lot of fur. So, sometimes at night only at night. When I go to sleep, sometimes I like to take off my tzitzit. That's why I bought myself the new tzitzit, so I could wear it at night. That special one, it's wool on wool, but it's also like a t-shirt. But before that, it was tough for me sometimes, especially in summer. My wife, she likes the AC off, and I'm over there, I'm turning, I cannot sleep because I'm hot. You understand? So I took off my tzitzit. And when I tell you what I says Shalom. Imagine every time you say my bag, $100, $100. Well, you gotta think. By the way, if you have to talk to yourself, you gotta, not crazy way, but you gotta tell you. What if you got another $100, another $100, another $100, what if another $1,000, another $1,000? You're not gonna hurt your teeth.
Yeah.
You're not gonna sleep even.
You'll double
it. You're gonna end over there.
You'll double it.
The mine is over. It's over. The altar Mislabotka. He was a Rosh Yeshiva Hebron Yeshiva before the massacre of the Hebron, the Arabs. So there was the yeshiva was in Hebron. Today is in Yerushalayim, I think. One time there was a rabbi there called Rabbi Zevulon Galatz, something like that. So look at how the altar Mislabotka with the word Simcha. He saw him once. He was thinking of a Tosfot. He's walking. When you're really thinking about something, your brows are all crunched in. And you're thinking, and you're touching your beard, and you're like, what's going on? The altar Mislabotka, the Rosh Yeshiva, passed him, he says to him, Ganav, how are you? Ganav. And a yeshiva guy, when the Rebbe tells you you're a Ganav, what did I do? What did I steal?
You better believe.
So he was really, he was too embarrassed to ask the altar, what did he mean by he was a Ganav? He's embarrassed. So the altar Mislabotka says to him, I see you're very perplexed, I'll explain to you. The Gemara says that any person who greets another person with a frowning face is a ganav. Why? When I greet you with a smile, it's contagious. So I make you happy automatically. When your friends passed you and you're with that face, guess what? You got them depressed too. And suddenly, the weather is not so good today, and his face is like a sour apple, comes together, and so you're also like that. The next guy is like, it's contagious. So you're ganav. You're stealing from his happiness. That's why I called you ganav. You have an obligation when you see somebody to go 360, 180. Say, you see a Tzelem Elokim. You're a Tzelem Elokim. You're a Ze'er Anpin walking in this world. You're the Sfirot of Chesed to the Malchut. You're a Zah walking in this world. That's you. You're walking. You're a Tzelem Elokim. Especially your people learn Torah. You keep mitzvot. How can I greet you? And it's hard. Call him a ganav. Teach him a lesson. Now I want to answer one question before we're going to end the night. We're going to end the night with this from Chaim Vital. I prepared this little thing here for you guys. You're going to have to wait for Shabbat. Rav Chaim Vital says like this: how come people do mitzvot and Hashem says, I'm going to give you mitzvot, you guys are going to have the fat of the land, you guys are going to be kaifuye, everything is good, life is good. And you know what, Lamaisa, I'll tell you the truth, Baruch Hashem, we're all living okay. Let's not complain first of all. Our stomachs are full, we're burping all day, We have iced coffee in the morning.
iPhone
One of the
12.
greatest pleasures of the Sukkah. I wait for that cup of coffee, and I have my first cup of coffee after Shacharit. And I understand when I have that first cup of coffee with the Chokli Yisrael, oh God. Sometimes I just wake up for that. When I have it with the Chokli Yisrael, why? Ooh, wah. Sometimes I do. I also learn a separate parak of Navi. By the way, today I finished the book of Yecheskel with Rashi. So it was a big moment for me. And I finished it with that, oh, it was Gadaev. You know, back then people didn't have coffee. Today people have so much, they make coffee in elephant's poop. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That's what they do. It's like a delicacy in the world. No, not cow. Elephant!
A monkey.
They stick inside.
Also monkey they have?
Yeah,
I saw elephant.
Kahlua
I saw
coffee.
elephant.
Kahlua
The
coffee.
elephant digests it, he lets it out, they open it up, and then they roast the beans.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Rabbi side, where have we got into it? What happened to good old fashioned elite Nescafe?
I'll stick to
I'll stick to the Nescafe. Alright, and they sell like $100 a cup.
Yeah.
So we're in the wrong business over here. So Chaim Vital says, but listen, first when you have children of Hashem, you always worry they should go over there Torah, mitzvot, tzniut, Yirat Shamayim. You know the Gemara says. I always tell you guys that a person has Chas Shalom kids off the derech. It's like Gogul Magog inside the house. It's like it's crazy. Your neshama is out of its way. So Chaim says, how come we're keeping Torah and mitzvot? Where's the guap? Where's the zamzumim? Where's the zuzim? Where's the damim? Give it to me. Look what our Chaim said. I found this pshat today. I must have read this 100 times. And sometimes it needs to resonate. Look what he says over here. Matzinu. Ki kol ha'oseh mitzvah achad Daniel. Anybody who makes a mitzvah, mativin lo. The Gemara says in Masechet Kiddushin, page 39. They give you good in your life. Marichin lo yamav. They make your life long, Gabriel. For example, you respect your parents. Long life. Shiluach HaKen. Long life. Kitivna bait hadash. V'ra'inu, and we saw, kama v'kama mitzvot shosim b'nei adam ve'inam mitkaymin d'rabbeinu. Some people, they do the mitzvah, they drop dead. What's going on over here? Where's their sachar? Where's their reward? Rav Chaim Vital. Listen, if it wasn't Rav Chaim Vital, I wouldn't say this. Rav Chaim Vital is saying this. Mo'in v'rabbeinu teres Roshenu. Aval, look what he says now, Gabriel. Hashoresh, the root. You guys are not doing the mitzvot correctly. Kshe oseh ta mitzvah kemasa. I'm doing it like a burden. When is Shacharis over? So I gotta take it off faster. It's a race. Who could take that feeling off faster? When is Shabbat coming out? I gotta check the Robin Hood. The app over there, when the stock's going up and down. When is, come on, kemasa kaved, kemasa, memaher, la'asiram. I want to finish it up. Aval, tzarich lachshov b'sichlo, we do a mitzvah. Like right now we're doing mitzvah. Right now we're all learning, every second is a mitzvah. Yachshov b'sichlo, shotem mitzvah, yarvirech elef alfei dinarei zahav. You're making thousands of millions of dollars. V'yeh sameach. And be happy when you do a mitzvah. Like Rav Berona, inside the Gemara, Rav Berona. He wore his tefillin one day, all day he's laughing. Okay, what are you laughing for? I wore tefillin today. So? So? What do you mean? Tefillin kamarachna, I wore tefillin. Another Rav, I'm not sure if it was Rav Berona, this and the which mitzvah. He says, why are you laughing today? I said Gal Yisrael and Shmona Yisrael right after the other. I'm laughing. You guys do it every day. Twice a day you guys do it. It's Shacharit and Arabit. We're not badachna, we're not laughing. Why? We have to do it. Now this is only going to happen. Now there's more over here. Maybe we'll do it over Shabbos. Okay? But I want to tell you guys that this will not happen automatically. You're not going to leave the shiur and suddenly be happy in every single mitzvah. It doesn't work. It's not magic. It's not magic. Just the way we're brainwashed to dress a certain way, to look a certain way, and to talk a certain way. You have to talk to yourself. You have to do what I do. You got to say, mitzvot are really millions of dollars.
In private.
It's really what I'm doing. In private, yeah, not in front of
customers.
In the train you could do it today, by the way. Everybody over there is say there. So, you have to talk. You got to work with yourself. You got to talk to yourself. Then you're going to grow with spirituality. Then you will grow. May we all be zocheh
Amen.
to do the mitzvot b'simcha.
Amen.
Tov levav,
Amen.
b'yashrut, b'emunah.
Amen.
May we zocheh lechatev v'lechatem sefer chaim tovim.
Amen.
May we utilize these last 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks till Rosh Hashanah. It was a tough start of Elul. I mean, especially for me. I don't know. Maybe you guys had an amazing Elul, but tough 2 weeks beginning, and hopefully this next 2 weeks is gonna be. We're gonna make it mamash gishmak, and we be zocheh to be written in the book of life with all of Klal Yisrael. Zocheh lebiat goel tzedek, Rabbi Amen, Baruch Adonai leolam, Amen ve'amen.